Good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Wallace, and I am the founder of FamGuru. And I've been a travel advisor and agency owner for more than 20 years. And with me today is Melissa Lopez. Melissa heads up our
Hi
development
everyone.
team. She is based in Argentina for people like me. And she's going to be she's going to be moderating the chat today. So for anyone who has any questions as we go along, please drop those questions into the chat. Questions are my favorite part of this
Absolutely.
conversation because I never know what you're going to ask me, and so I find that like a lot of fun. So looking forward to hearing what you think as we go along. So, oh, good. We have a couple more people coming in. Good morning, or morning, David. And hi, Hannah's come in. Terrific, or will come in. So, anyway, today we're going to take you through a demonstration of FamGuru for travel suppliers and destination management organizations so that you can see what FamGuru is and how it works and to learn how it can help you. FamGuru's technology is here to make the planning and execution of our fam trips easier. And we also want to help you understand how it helps those that are traveling with you. So before the trip, making sure your advisors and your participants are better prepared to be with you during the trip so that they can better capture and organize everything that they're learning because that information is coming at them fast and furious and they need to be able to capture it. And then after the trip, setting them on the path for success so that they can sell and market your products and your destinations more effectively than they ever have. So that we'll be covering those general areas as we go along. And before we dive in, I'll just share a little bit about why I started FamGuru. So as an advisor myself, I've had the good fortune to travel around the world on many different fam trips, but I always really struggled with how do I capture that information? How do I get it organized? How do I use it to build my business when I come back? And one terrific example was a trip to France where it was 5 nights, five different hotels, five different destinations, 13 Michelin stars. And by the time I got home, I couldn't remember any of the Michelin stars that I had eaten at. And that's sad because it was a great trip and I wanted to be able to represent that better. And I didn't have a good way. Why couldn't I, as I was traveling, be able to capture that information as I was going along, organize it by location, by hotel, by restaurant, with all of my photos, and then press a button when I get back to share it with my clients and my colleagues? Why wasn't there an app for that? Well, there wasn't. And that's how FamGuru started. So it started as an app to help advisors and agencies. But I very quickly realized that if we're not able to organize and sell what we've seen as effectively as we want, what about our partners, the the suppliers and the tourism boards? They're putting so much great time and energy and effort and money into these trips for us. If we're not effective, then they're not getting the return on investment either. So we created a side of FamGuru to address and put the advisor and the host together in one place to make this a lot easier to manage and to capture information and to use it afterwards. So FamGuru is basically a system to manage and simplify our FAMs from start to finish. And so our technology makes the planning and execution easier, helping participants do what they are supposed to do when they get back, which is sell what they see, right? And I'm excited. We have a cross section of people who have signed up for today: hoteliers, DMCs, representation companies, people in the PR industry. And we all have FAMs in common and we all have a process for them, right? But there isn't necessarily a consistency to that process. And that process is complicated. It uses a lot of different components and platforms. And so we're going to be showing you how FamGuru pulls that together in one place to make it a lot easier. And why is this important? It's because it takes us all a lot of administration time to run these trips, right? And that's when we could be doing things that we're supposed to be doing, like selling or doing our PR work. And the FamTrip is indeed a marketing program. And with that time and money that is being invested, we need a return on our investment. Whether you're an advisor, an agency owner, or a host, that's really, really important to us, right? It's not just about getting good people together and saying thank you for being a good, a good seller of our destination. It's about a return on investment. So today we're going to be looking at the FamGuru website. And well, FamGuru has two sides. It has a mobile app that you can use on location and a website that is handier to use as you're setting up a trip. We'll look at the web today, and we'll look at how to set up a trip using our AI, our newest AI, as well as how to do it manually. And then we'll look at the trip itself, how we save time helping you share that information with the people on the ground and with the advisors. And then we'll also talk about the advisor point of view. How are they using FamGuru when they're on your trip so that you can see how they're collecting information? And we'll talk about the future and what that holds for FamGuru. So any questions so far? We will be recording this. So thank you for asking about that, Donnie, and we'll send this out to you afterwards. But if there are no questions at the moment, we'll dive right in with the demo. Is that okay? All right, great.
I think so.
All right, so what I will do is share my screen and bring over FamGuru. Okay, can everyone see that okay? Good. Okay, well, welcome to FamGuru, everyone. This is FamGuru on the web, and we have different components to our homepage here. You can see that we have active trips here, and then active trip is anything that's happening today or in the future. A past trip that you can always refer back to are down here. And we have a section called latest notifications. So if someone is sending you a passport or responding to something that you've asked for within the app, you can see that here. Up in the right, I'm going to start with something called the account. Now, every software, which is what FamGuru is, has an account section, right? So let me just walk you through what we ask of people. So everyone has an About Me section. So they have their mobile number, their company name or their agency name, their social media handles, and their emergency contact information. This information, once they accept your trip, comes over into your trip. So you can see that and you can share that with whoever needs to see it. Also here, we're collecting professional information. So if it's an advisor, a bit of a description about you. If it's a supplier, some other information about you, so that you can be able to see who these people are or share that information with somebody who is on location. Also, dietary and other needs. This is basically something that we share all of the time. We need it if you're a DMC, you're probably sharing this with multiple hotels along the way. And so we collect it here so that it's easy to compile and give to you. So we'll talk about how that works a little bit later as we're going along, but I just wanted to share that everybody does have this information and it can be used to support your trip. Going back to our page here. So what do you do when you're starting out on a fam trip? Let's see, you want to create a trip, right? So we're going to go to the add trip function here and we'll click create. This takes us to very simple page. And it's what we have here is some stock imagery, but you'll want to put your hero image here. What image is going to represent your trip before, during, and after the trip and 4 years into the future. So as your participants are looking back, that's the image that they'll have in their mind. So let's choose this one. And I'll talk a little bit about the basic information to get started. There's going to be a name to the trip, easy enough. You'll select an organization. You can have more than one organization. And the dates of travel, the trip invitation text. So when you're adding your participants to your list, they're going to receive an email with your name on it. And it will say, hey, or whatever text you put here, this will be what is stated to them in that email. Hey, thanks for joining us. Please get set up on FamGuru and accept the trip, and you'll see the itinerary. Very easy to do. And then trip description. What are a few sentences about what they're going to experience when they're joining you? This is, something, again, 6 months after the trip, this will jog their memory if they have multiple trips in their FamGuru. Which one was yours? Now, we have a feature here for our AI upload. We can take any PDF that you might already have that describes this trip, even if it's just a spreadsheet with the dates and the activities that you're doing, you can put that in PDF and upload it here. And I want to show you a little bit about how this works, because it'll save you a lot of time on the back end as you're creating the trip. So I'm going to upload a very simple document. This document is just an overnight fam trip. And what it's doing right now is it's reading through the PDF, it's analyzing it, and it will start to extract the different activities from the trip. It's going to auto-populate that into the FamGuru structure so that you don't have to create each one of those manually. And it can take just a moment. It'll be done here hopefully in a second. And actually it's taking a little long today, but here we go. We can see it extracting, which is great. And what it's doing in the process is it's giving it a name. You can always change this if you wish. It is giving it a trip description. And you can add trip invitation text if you wish. I need to give it an organization, and we'll put it under FamGuru, and it's taken the start and the end date from the trip. So what we do from here is we go to we say create, and this is going to take us to an intermediate step. It's going to review everything that it's extracted from the document, because AI is not perfect. So we want to be able to look at this and do some editing if we need to. So if we need to do an edit, we just do a drop down right here, edit the information, or we can even delete it if we wish. And so, for example, if this came in and I wanted this to rather be a different type of element, I could make that a site inspection or a restaurant. I could do that here. I can change the time. I can change the description. So all of this is reading in from the AI, but it's nice to check it just in case. From this point, we'll go to creating the itinerary, and this will take it into the FamGuru platform itself. So once it does, it's creating the trip right now. And I'll mention too, you can do this with a document up to about 30 pages. I have seen FamTrip documents in PDF that are longer than 30 pages. They're quite intense. So if you can keep it to less than that, you'll be great. But if you have multiple things that you want to put into one PDF, you have 5 PDFs, you can join them into one, and that will work. But then also important to note is you can do this one time. So that brings that into FamGuru. If you were to do it again, it would start to overwrite and confuse the data that's already in there. So you have one opportunity to do that. So that'll take care of the vast majority of your itinerary building. So here we go. This is our trip home screen. You see our hero image right here. And we have all of our information about the trip. If we need to edit, we can go back to this screen, just like we saw before. And what I'd like to do to start is to just show you how we brought in the itinerary. Okay, so there it all is in its structure. Within a trip like this, we have the ability to also edit any one of these by clicking on it and going into the edit function, or we can even add more to it. We can add a hotel stay, we can add a site inspection, a restaurant. For anybody involved in cruise, we have a cruise or a ship inspection, and the other element. So this would be anything you don't already see here. This could be a tour, this could be a flight. We will be adding tours and flights to this group of elements, but we want to make sure that we don't have 15 elements across the top. But if you don't see it today, you can just add it as an example. So far, so good. Any questions at the moment? Good. All right. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to navigate to a different past trip that has a bit more data in it to show you one that's more fully built out. So I'll go to this one right here in my past trips. And let's go back to the itinerary and review this in a bit more detail as to what's actually going on here. So this is the trip that we've done. We have different elements. Again, this is another element. This is a hotel stay. And what I'd like to show you is how do we add something to FamGuru in a manual basis. So let's add a site inspection on our first day. This is Google Maps enabled. And so I'm going to add Shutters on the Beach as a hotel. And you'll see that it pulls up some options, and this is the one I want, so I will select it. And that pulls in the map, the URL, the start date. I can select my start time, and that's going to be 4 p.m. And if I have any contacts at the hotel, I can add this here. If I have a description of the hotel, maybe it's a consortium description or other description, it brings in the website, of course, and the phone number. Google, for some reason, does not bring that in, but that's easy enough for you to add along the way. So to the next page. This is also a place where a hotelier can add their professional photos and videos. And why is this great? Because we're always, as an advisor, I'm always receiving 10 emails from everyone I met after the trip with all of the photo galleries, with all of the PDFs. It's quite overwhelming. This is one place where we can put all of that information, not only after the trip, but before and during and forever. So this is a place where advisors can come, see what they're going to see, warm up their social media audiences, and have that accessible in their archive. Really what we're doing in creating the itinerary as the host is putting together what I call the professional part of the archive. So all of your information is being collected here for future reference. And once the trip happens, your participants are going to be collecting their information and their photos. That's their portion of the archive. And so once they're back home, they have this amazing resource to be able to refer to, whether that's 2 weeks after, 6 months after, 3 years after, when it's finally time to refer to it. instead of having to go through their camera roll and try to figure out in their inbox where all of this data and information is. It's all right there for them. So, and you can also add files. This could be your latest press release. It could be your spa menu. It could be your activities and their pricing, whatever you want to add. So, and then it's quick review. If you're doing multiple FamTrips that are similar, you could add this element to your library and be able to pull that in the future. So please know you don't have to always do this from scratch. Between the AI and your library elements, you can make this a lot easier. So let's go ahead and save. That will take us back to the itinerary screen. And it doesn't always populate in the right place, but we do have a drag and drop feature. So you can just move that there. It's in the right order. And so we're able to see what we have here. Now, as you can tell, we can go around the itinerary. We can go in and we can edit any aspect of it. And so let's just take a look at the walking tour of Santa Monica, for example. If I wanted to edit that, how would I do that? I would go here and I would simply edit. Very easy to do that. Going back to the itinerary, let's leave the page. But how does an advisor work with this? Basically, we're creating this structure for them. And what that's doing is when they receive access to FamGuru and your trip, they can come in and see this itinerary. So what I recommend is that you have a pretty good version of the itinerary, or at least a working version of the itinerary when you start inviting advisors, because they will be invited as soon as you invite them. They will receive that email as soon as you invite them. If you want to work in a hidden mode, you can do that by toggling this off and then they won't see it. But if they come in for the first time and they don't see anything, they're going to ask you why they can't see it. So nice to have something there for them to look at. So, but what does an advisor do with this information? Now, they would probably be doing this on their phones, but you can also do it on the web. I'd like to add in every destination that an itinerary touches, basically a notes section. So Santa Monica notes in this case. And what can the advisor do with that? Well, we don't have any information here, but what the advisor can do is they can come in and they can add notes about the destination. So they can give it a rating. They can put in some photos about the destination. They can put in what we call public comments. Now, why public and why private? Well, public is something that you as a host can see. You can see how your participants are engaging as they go along through the trip, afterwards on the trip. But participants let us know that they need a place to put things that maybe they don't want to share. Maybe this hotel was not appropriate, or this destination was not really perfect for their clients, or they just have many details that they just don't need to share. They wanted to have a private section as well. So this is a place for private comments, like in addition to anything that they might share with their hosts. A best practice when you're using FamGuru is to make sure that your participants do provide their public feedback. You have the right to be asking for that. Danny was talking about making certain requirements of the advisors as being part of this trip. You have the right to say you must be doing your public notes so we can see what you're experiencing and what your feedback is. Some people are using the public notes in lieu of a survey, for example. So it's a nice place to be collecting their insights. But also we want them to have a place for their own, as well as to be thinking about who is this good for? Who am I going to sell this destination, this hotel, this experience to when I get back? So this is a place where they can put in who it is they think this is good for. And also which specific clients, because too often we get onto these trips and we kind of forget that it's not our own vacation, but that's not true. So we want them to be thinking about the sales aspect of taking this knowledge back and using it. So far, so good. All right, I'll show you a hotel because hotels are a little bit deeper as well. There's a lot more to engage with in a hotel property, of course. So let us go to this one. And if we go right now, what you'll see is what the host would have put in. Here's the description, here's the contact, here's a file. No photos from this host, but there could be. What's the advisor experience like here? And again, this would be on their phone, but we have the same public and private notes section as before. In this case, we have a few of the public photos and the public comments, but we can, in addition, look at other sections as well. So let's say that the advisor met some people on property that you did not give them a contact for. This could maybe be the concierge or their favorite bartender. And so you could add that contact in for future reference. And then rooms. Oh my gosh, as an advisor myself, this was one of my big pain points. I would come back with 700 to 1,000 photos from a trip, and guaranteed a week or two later, I wouldn't know what hotel that was or what room category that was. And so this is a place where I can organize everything that I see by hotel, by room. And here's just general room and room photos and commentary. And here is the specific room photo and commentary with the number of room that I saw and the comments that I saw. So this segments it, keeps it clean so that I remember. And when I have that opportunity 6 months from now to sell that room to a client, I can say, hey, look, this is what I thought. This is what I saw. These were my impressions. We can likewise do that with food and beverage outlets. So general photos and video and comments. And also if we want to do it on a specific basis, so that maybe that's your lobby bar, maybe that's your breakfast nook, maybe that is your Michelin restaurant. So different ways we can do that in F&B as well. Same for wellness, your spa, your gym, your golf course, perhaps. And then my other favorite as an advisor is the common areas. Why is that? Because I always forgot to go see parts of a hotel or to take a picture. And it was terrible not taking a picture of a resort's beach and then not being able to represent that accurately to a client later. Or if I'm a family travel specialist, I need to be asking about the kids club and what it is. Ask my host, can we go see that? Or what is your kids program? So it jogs my memory in addition to giving me a place to be able to put my photos, my video, and my impressions. So that's a bit so you can do that for every element of your itinerary to a certain degree. And same if you're doing cruises, it's a similar concept. And so that's probably all I'll say about the itinerary at the moment, unless people have questions at this point, and then I'll move on to some
Hi,
of the other.
Gary. It's David here. Thanks so much again for doing this, your time to show us this great, fabulous demo. I just had a question about the itinerary. A lot
Yes.
of the itineraries that we work with, maybe built from a DMC, we get sent a big PDF with the whole schedule of events and how it all falls. And we upload that PDF in there. Does that automatically sync into this itinerary, or does it have to be built again separately into this format? And you still have the PDF, but then we have to build it in here as well, too?
So just let me just adjust that. If we go back to our trip home screen here, David, or actually if we were starting a new trip, on the place where you create a trip, we have something called an AI upload. And so with that PDF that you have from your DMC partner, for example, that can be uploaded into FamGuru. It will map all of the elements out of that itinerary and into the itinerary structure that we just looked at. And so you will not have to add those individually, fortunately. So, and so I'm happy we touched on that just briefly at the very beginning, but I think you weren't quite here yet. So I'm happy to run through that with you at some point in the future. But it saves 80 to 90% of the itinerary creation time, fortunately.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Good to
Yeah,
know.
and so you can also take that beautiful PDF, because sometimes partners do put together one with gorgeous photos, and it's basically a marketing brochure in many ways to attract people to your trip. You can add that under files info here. We'll talk about the items here. It's actually, David, a perfect segue into where I wanted to go next.
Yeah, I knew
So
that
thank you.
already, right?
So thank you for that question. Um, let's talk. Well, we'll go down this list on the left-hand side because that'll give you the idea, the other aspects of FamGuru that you can work with. But let's talk about the members of your trip. So this is a place where you can invite everyone in. So how does one do that? Invite members. I'll just drop info at famguru.app in here, and we would add that to the list. And when you drop somebody in via their email, you can select whether they're a participant. So that would be your advisor. Perhaps it's somebody, perhaps it's a travel writer or an influencer. So that you can choose different roles. A trip editor is someone who, like you, as the trip owner, the trip creator, can edit any aspect of the trip, and you can work collaboratively that way. Or you can just be a viewer. So if somebody just needs to know what's going on, you can put them in viewer status. If you don't want that person to be seen by the rest of the group, you can make them invisible here. And so that will be hidden. So maybe if you have some admin people behind the scenes who are helping, but they will not be traveling on the trip, you can put them in hidden status, but they can still do their jobs. So the other thing too is you can send from any trip editor. So in this case, I could send it from my name, but maybe I'm an admin and I want it coming from, maybe I want it to be sent from Elisa in their inbox instead of me. You can decide who should be sending the email invitation. So just a bit about that. And again, once you put them on this list and click send, that's when they're going to get that invite email. That's when they can go in and create their account on FamGuru and accept the trip and see your itinerary. Now, just a bit about what we have here on an individual basis. Let me go into into an individual participant. And what do we have here? So we talked about the account and how everybody has their own account. Once they've accepted your trip, you'll be able to see their details, including their emergency contacts, et cetera, their professional information has been brought in, those dietaries, all important because you're going to be sharing those. And we're also their public notes. We'll talk about the others in a moment. We talked about those public notes. So here they are. That's what I said. Those were my photos. And here's the walking tour of Santa Monica. That's what I said. Oh, no photos for that, but that's what I wrote. And so you can see the engagement that's happening as you're going along. How are people seeing and perceiving what is going on around them? And if you notice anything that maybe wasn't quite right, you can go back and address that in real time with the person as you're seeing this. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk about this one first. Insights. Now, we talked about public versus private. Sometimes people are using this for their own scouting trips. And if it's somebody within your organization, so David, let's say it's Oberoi Hotels and you have your team in your Oberoi Hotels organization, you can also see their private insights because they are on your team. Now, you can't see the private if it's somebody that's just a participant in your trip. That's their data. They can choose to share it with you, but if it's part of your company, you can also see what's going on their private notes. And so here we can see, for example, in Santa Monica, that my private notes, here's my public and my private, for example. So you can have access to that. But again, only within your own organization. Let's also talk about.
Gary, there's a really interesting question, and it's really related to what you were mentioning. So Danny's asking, is FamGuru an app that we can offer the agents that can keep after for how much time, and how do we manage all their personal data confidentially?
Okay, so the advisor, very good. So the advisor will have this after the trip. Absolutely. The idea is that they have an enduring archive of everything that they're seeing. I love this question, Danny. But there are certain things that they shouldn't don't need to share with you after the trip. You need it for certain purposes, like a passport. If they share their passport with you, they do have an opportunity to tick a box and say, this passport copy should disappear after the trip. And so that's meant for them to safeguard their data. If they don't want it to be part of for you to access afterwards and you don't need it afterwards, great. Now, for example, we're going to talk about the chat. They can't pull out of the chat, for example. They were part of this trip. They need to remain part of the chat. But their own personal data they can take out. Okay. Hopefully that helps. Does that answer the question? Hopefully. Good question. Thank you. All right, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about requirements. And to do this, you see it here. Oftentimes with a trip, you need certain information from people, right? You might need arrival information. You might need that passport. And so you can add a requirement to your trip. And what does this do? This works through FamGuru and not through the advisor or the participant's inbox, but it takes everything out of email and allows that information to take place and to be added through the app or through the website. So you can set up a requirement. It will ping the participant on both in their email and in their app as a push notification. Hey, we need this new requirement, and you can set it up to be by a certain deadline. For example, you can have a deadline here. You can give it a description. You can tick if you want this to be included with your spreadsheet compilation. I'll talk about that in a minute. Most of the time you're going to want this. I actually have a passport requirement in there that's already got this ticked. So, and you can send it to everyone on the trip, or you can select different people on the trip. Maybe not everyone needs to give you this for some reason. So just a bit about how requirements work. Uh, we'll discard that change. But in this member list, you need so much of this information, but what's happening? Do we have it? So we have a requirements column here that allows you to see how participants are are complying with your requirements. And so FamGuru also pings the advisor, the participant, once a week until you're 2 weeks before your deadline, and then it pings, I think it's every other day, to try to get them to do this. Now, we're famously bad. I was no exception as an advisor myself at doing all of this. So to have those reminders and to know that I haven't done my homework and my host needs it was really good. Now, if you get to a week before the trip and this still isn't done, you might want to ask, is this person coming? And if not, then you need to be in touch with them, of course. But that gives you an idea of what requirements are and how they work. Now let's take a look at how one exports all of this information. There's a couple different ways to export info. The first is a spreadsheet. And here's how the participants would look as a group. And not everyone in here has data, but you'll see how this looks eventually as my computer opens this. But what you have is, and most people are building a spreadsheet of some sort anyway, but let's say you have to share this with multiple hoteliers along the way as you're going. You need to be able to tell everybody who this is and what their dietaries are. There we are. Perfect. And how many times do you have to send those passports to facilitate check-in? There's the passport, right? Just as a link. So you're not having to download or upload. It's all right there in the spreadsheet. The other way one does this, in terms of compiling information, is to go to an individual member. So we'll go back to my profile here. And you can export a member profile. And for all of our requirements. So if I want to put Carrie's arrival information in her passport copy in this and create a dossier for Carrie, maybe she's meeting with the general manager at one property and he needs to see what she's all about or what the group is all about. This will be created from the profile information. Okay, and there we go. As dossier. And there are my dietary restrictions, super important to have. And there are my arrival and departure information. And here is my passport copy. So it's meant to facilitate the collection and the sharing of information ahead of time, which is really one of the biggest administrative hassles that we have in the preparation of a trip, right? So it's meant to try to save you as much time. You're building this information, you're collecting this information, you're copying and pasting into documents or building your own dossiers. FamGuru can do it for you. So that's a bit about the requirements. Other questions before moving along? All right, let's move to gallery. So gallery is something that you can pre-populate. This could be destination images, something from your property. So again, it's a place where everybody can come, it's shared. We are actually on a mission to replace the WhatsApp group. Now that may sound a little bit scary because everybody does a WhatsApp group, right? But we believe we can do it better and we can make it more enduring for the group. And so what we have here is a place for all the gallery, the media, the video and whatnot. And so not only can you pre-populate this for people to use in advance, but then people can come in during the trip and put in their selfies and their group photos and their best room photos and will be photo credited. And you can edit and put in a description of that particular photo. Now, this is well known as a shared gallery. People can use this. You can use this in your marketing, your social media afterwards. Here on the web, you can select the images you might want to download afterwards for that purpose, or you can select all or just choose the ones you wish to have. But everyone is well apprised. They need to give permission to share the photos from their phone. They need to give permission and they need to click that they accept what is happening in the shared photo gallery and that people can use these. But it's a great way to be getting the real photos, the real experience out into the hands of the clients and into your marketing programs afterwards. So that's just a bit about the gallery. We can, talking about the mission with WhatsApp, that's why we also have a chat function here. So you can chat to the whole group right here. You can put in media into the chat, photo, video, or file. And when doing so, it asks if you would like to share that into the gallery. There's a tick box, which allows people to share that directly into the gallery, or they can come back in here and pull it from the chat as well. You can do that with the whole group, or you can go one-to-one with somebody in your group, or you can create a subgroup if you wish to, or anybody in your group can create a subgroup and follow what's going on. So the idea is, if you're working in FamGuru, people are not really going to want to be moving between platforms. So we knew we needed to create this function here as well to keep it all in one place. The other thing about WhatsApp is, after about a year, they put some of that media into really, really deep storage. So if there's a great video that resides in the chat, an advisor might not be able to get to that 12 months from now because it's so deep they can't pull it out. But with FamGuru, anything in here is always available for reference, again, before, during, or even 3 years after. So the idea is to give them what they need to make that sale or to support their marketing. We talked a little bit about files info with David's question. If you have that beautiful itinerary that you want to put in here for reference, this could also be something like your entry requirements. Maybe you also have a participation agreement. Maybe you need someone to sign a waiver. That can go in here as part of what they have to do. Actually, with a waiver, or if you something they need to sign, I would put it under requirements so that they're consistently pinged. But maybe this is just country information that you want to share. So, and then notifications, as people are giving you input with those, with that they've accepted an invitation or they've uploaded their passport, you can see that here and take a look at what's going on. And then finally, broadcast. Broadcast is just a bit different than chat. This is essentially a non-chat notification. It's a one-way notification. So if you don't want to start a full chat thread and you don't want people, you just want to convey information, bags in the lobby at 8:15, we're leaving at 8:30 as a reminder. So that's our left-hand navigation menu. Any questions there before I sort of tie things up and talk about the future and a few other things? I know we're coming close to our 45 minutes together. So a couple other things that you can do. If we go to this actions button at the head of your trip, these are the export trip reports. Now, this is going to export for your own individual information. So let's say you're traveling on the same trip with these participants. If you're taking your notes and whatnot, you can export your public and private notes through these options here. Now, we talked a bit about a compilation of all those public notes. Let's see what that looks like. This is done in docx because probably you might want to excerpt this, or you might want to make it, put it on your own letterhead or what have you. But this takes every participant's feedback, that public feedback, and puts it into one document so that you can share with people on the ground, or you can share it with the group and provide 360-degree feedback. It's one thing for this, we all see things differently. So we have a synopsis of the itinerary here, and then we have what did Carrie say for her Santa Monica notes. Now, if other people had done, if we had other data in here, advisor 2, 3, and 4, their notes would follow mine. And here's what I said about the hotel, the Regent. There is my public description of what I thought. Those are my photos. And here's what I thought of my walking tour, et cetera, et cetera. And so that would be there for every one of your participants in sequence. Now, it's also, I think, a really nice sales tool. So let's say you anonymize, instead of my name, advisor number 1 and advisor number 2. So do a search and replace and change that out. If there's any personal photos in here, selfies, that you can delete those. And then you can use that as a sales tool to be able to represent this trip, to give it to other advisors. I could sell this destination from seeing this report from my peers. So I think it's a really powerful way to be able to communicate what goes on, what are people that I trust, my fellow advisors in this case, and what are they saying, and how do I represent that to one of my clients, even if I've never been to Panama City, if that's the trip, for example. Let's see. So there's so much here that you can take advantage of. There's so much more that we have to come as well. In terms of what's next, Currently, this works best on strong Wi-Fi or strong mobile service. So we're going to be working on an offline mode, and we'll be hopefully starting into that here in the second quarter. But that's tricky because we don't want people working offline for 2 hours and then for some reason having a problem uploading to the cloud. So we need to be very, very careful with that. And Melissa, unfortunately, has the very delicate task of making that happen. So wish her well, but it is something we're working on. We also want for you all to have the ability to invite other advisors. So to be able to search our advisor database, we have more than 5,000 people on the platform right now between hosts and advisors to see maybe who you don't know and maybe you should know that could be eligible or a good fit for your trip. We also want to be able to create more AI tools for advisors to market their trip experiences, from summarizing a hotel site inspection to creating social media posts like that using their content that's in FamGuru, which would make it really, really easy to splash it out there. I should mention any photo or video you see here on FamGuru can be put on social. It can be texted to a client or put into an email. We didn't go over that, but it's possible. And also FamGuru for agencies. We're starting to see a lot of agencies become very interested in this. I just had a call with an agency, a large agency in Australia last night, because they want for their advisors to be sharing this information and to be bringing this back and collecting it. They can share with clients, put in their marketing, and take that one advisor and multiply him or her 100 times, 1,000 times from that one participation in your trip. That's one of our goals. And then ultimately, tools for tracking return on investment. Who's booking? Can we self-report? Can we pull in GDS information? So there's a lot that we can do with this. And then finally, before anyone asks, the revenue model. How does FamGuru make money? So we do it based on subscriptions. And there are 3 types of subscriptions right now. There's a host subscription. So that could be whether you're a DMO or whether you're a travel supplier. And that's done either on an annual basis or on a monthly basis. Our starting plans right now start at about $1,500 a year and go up from there based on your usage and the number of people involved and the number of people that you're inviting. And that price is based on a 12-month subscription. On a monthly basis, it would be a bit higher. And then we also have agency subscriptions based on the number of people within an agency. Now, with an individual advisor, we have a 2-part model to that. All advisors are complimentary. They have access to a complimentary account. However, if they want premium features, so let's say they want to be able to invite somebody else from their agency to travel with them in their FamGuru, that's an advisor premium subscription. So it's based on that's how we make money. Although to be honest, it's mostly from the standpoint of the travel host that would be our direct customer, but the agencies are coming a close second, I will say. Wow, I'm trying to think what else. So just an example of a few people that are using this from a supplier perspective right now. Four Seasons Hawaii is one of them. Preferred Hotels, Ultimate Jet Vacations, a couple of Bennett Mercado. They are a representation company. Calliope Collective, Pearson Leslie David. You'll know them because they're involved with India. And Scenic Cruises was our first cruise line, and we're happy to announce our first DMO, which is Visit West Hollywood. They'll be coming on board shortly. So, wow, I feel like I've been talking forever. Maybe I should just put a lid on it for a moment and let everyone ask any questions that are coming up. And I know we're kind of at time, but happy to hang out for a few more minutes. Anything coming up in the chat? Let me stop sharing for right now so I can see everyone.
Yeah, there is a question from Danny. Have any hotels or experiences in Whistler joined so far?
Not yet, but we would welcome the opportunity to introduce FamGuru to them. So if you'd like to make that connection, Danny, we would be most grateful for that. Yep, I'm based in Chicago.
Yeah,
Melissa is in Argentina. Our development team is in Argentina. And so, yeah, multi-country.
I have a question just about when it comes to identifying the advisors in beginning stages of the FAM. For me personally, I would go to a lot of our industry agency owners, managers, sort of to help disseminate this information to get sort of identify the right people. Would that like for you? I would go to you, say, would you or anyone at Carillion be interested in this particular FAM? And if so, it's then the next stage would be send them the details on FamGuru of everything to spread out. That is that, you know what I mean? Like, or
Right, right. What's the
do we
upstream
go,
process,
or
right?
do we have
Right.
to
How
go
do
through the FamGuru already? Anyone who's only on FamGuru can see the opportunity for Fam.
So let me just take a moment to step back and talk about what is the upstream process. Now, everybody from in the invitation process, it's everything from sending out beautiful marketing documents to, hey, you're interested in coming, right? So there's a very large differentiation between how people do their invitations in the first place. So what we're doing right now is not so much about inviting in the first place, but when you have the list, that's at the moment when we bring them in to FamGuru. In the future, we do, for our subscribing members, we do hope to be able to allow you to reach out and contact people proactively that may have a fit and say, would you be interested in participating on that? So we will be taking this, we'll be starting to go upstream of this and look at the invitation process and how to bring people into that process. So at the moment, David, we do not have that capability. It's best to come into FamGuru with knowing who you've already recruited and getting them on the platform, but we will start to move upstream in that process to be able to say, hey, you don't know me, but I think you might be a good fit. Shall we have a conversation to see if you should be part of our trip? And so please look for that to come. Can't tell you exactly when, but that is definitely the intention. Does that
Okay,
help?
great. Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay, I saw something else come up, perhaps.
Yeah. Another question from Danny that says, how many people have access to the DMO subscription of $1,500 per year? I will share the link of the price and models, but if you would
You know
like
what? Why don't
to
I do?
answer
Why don't
that
I
question,
do? You know what, Melly? I'll just follow up with everybody to give that to them individually after
that's
so we can
great.
get the right one to you. But just to answer your question, Donnie, is the participants per trip are 10 in the starter plan, and they go up to 20 in the next level up. So hopefully that, and we also can always do something on a customized basis if that plan doesn't feel right
Correct.
to you, we can talk about it for sure. Okay. All right.
Thank
Anyone?
you,
I
Danny.
think this is it on my side. Thank you very much. And I will just share this information as I told Melissa. If we need to have a second meeting, I'll just look for your emails and reach out for sure.
Great. And in the meantime, as we're winding
Thank
things
you.
down here, and I know people have to go, if you'd like to schedule a call, there's my link to book into my calendar, and we'd love for you to give it a try. And everybody is welcome to run one familial fam trip, educational, whatever you call it, without having to subscribe. So if you'd like to give it a try, you'd like to put hands on or play with it, you can do so, and you can log on through and create an account through the app or create it on the website at web.famguru.app. And you can
Yeah,
always find
and
me.
now that I can see the visuals of your cell phone interface, that would be something that we would appreciate seeing also, because obviously it's nicer and easier to access all those tabs and all your left menus in a web in like in your computer, but definitely everybody uses this with their phones at that last
Exactly.
minute or in that last fam.
Yeah. In the
That
interest of time, I did not do so in this call. We're going to be doing an advisor call in about a half an hour where we will be showing them both the web and the mobile version. But I would be happy to share that with you, and you're welcome to download it and give it a look as well on your own. So
all
please
right.
feel free to do it. Exactly. We'd want you, just in the interest of time, we didn't do it today.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else before we wind down for the day? I appreciate all of your joining us, and I didn't get to talk to all of you, but thank you, Marik, Magdalena, and David and Donnie and others for being here today with us. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you check it out, and we'll be happy to answer future questions or have a one-on-one conversation about your particular needs.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
All
Thanks,
right. Thanks all. Take
everyone.
care. Have a great rest of your day.
Good
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you.